Hi, everyone. Delighted on this episode to be talking with the voice of conscience currently, I think. And that is actor, performer, voice artist, embodier of lives and play of the screen, Joe Ochman. Joe, welcome.
Hey, nice to be here, my friend. I really appreciate it and love that introduction. I feel almost important now. It's great.
Well, of course you are. Yeah, if I had a robe, I would mail it to you at the moment, and we could make that work.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. Current voice of Jiminy Cricket,
Yes.
and as well, you've worked in worlds like Final Fantasy, Star Wars, some of these science fiction things that I love and that I've drawn to.
I just finished doing something in the DC universe, a podcast for I think called DC High Volume Batman.
Very
So
nice.
what they're doing that's kind of cool is they're taking graphic novels, speaking of books,
Hmm.
and they're actually dramatizing them in a podcast directly from the graphic novel. It's very cool.
I will be listening in on that. I actually love to listen to like the audio dramas, and I'm a big DC fan, so
Yeah.
that fits really well in the wheelhouse. And you've done some live action work in the DC universe as well.
I did Lois and Clark. I had a recurring role on Lois and Clark back in the day because I
Hmm.
started out. I actually never realized I was going to be a voice person. That was not even on my radar. I had done voice stuff. Excuse me. I had done voice stuff before, but I was an on-camera guy. That's what I came here to do. And one of the things that I did was I had a recurring role on Lois and Clark, the Dean Cain, Terry Hatcher Superman show, and and I was the guy who said, "Got a message for you, Clark." Anytime Jimmy Olsen didn't, that was sort of my thing. Uh,
Nice.
but I did a few episodes. It was a lot of fun. It's a
You've
great show.
met Superman.
I've met Superman.
Yeah, yeah. Not
How
not a
many
bad claim.
how many people can say that?
True,
I
true.
have hobnobbed with Lois Lane.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, good company for hobnobbing.
It's true. Excellent hobnobbing to be had.
Yes, yes. Now, what led you to telling stories and embodying stories in film?
I think I like to think it's because I watched too much TV and read too many comic books as a child.
Love
So
that story.
the whole idea of storytelling was always in me. But it took me a while to decide that it's something that I should do professionally. I didn't, it was never my intent. I always thought I went to, went to grammar school, went to high school, did some theater in high school only because the big drama teacher in my all boys Jesuit high school left the year before I got there, and his whole clique went with him, so nobody was doing theater. So I decided to do it.
Yeah.
Ended up getting leads in a couple of plays right off the bat, which surprised the heck out of me. And But didn't think of it as a serious career until a couple of years after I got out of college. I was going to major in psychology,
Nice.
but ended up in acting. Go figure.
Yeah,
You learn
yeah.
all the
Well,
same things and you don't have to do a thesis. It's kind of nice.
yeah, absolutely. Now there's a psychology to performance and acting, right?
Oh,
There's
gosh, yes. You really do learn the same things that you learn in psychology. And you
yeah.
don't have to do a thesis, but you have to memorize lines unless you're doing voiceovers, and then you don't have to memorize lines, you can read them. So
Oh, nice.
I like to tell people that my career has always been based completely on laziness. Didn't have to do a thesis, now I don't have to memorize. Life is great.
That is the dream of all dreams, to embody characters and to get to do so with the written word, the printed page
Yeah.
that way.
And I've never, that's the other thing is I was always playing characters when I was a kid. I was always doing that kind of stuff. So it's always been a part of me. So it's lovely. It's lovely to be able to do the thing you love all your life,
Hmm.
including your childhood life.
Yeah,
I don't know that everybody gets to do that, you know,
true. Very
but
true.
I've been very lucky that way. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, yeah. Now, you said you grew up with comics, so I'm curious what would be on the stack that you would point to?
I was a Marvel guy. I know you're a DC guy. I'm sorry, but he's a DC guy, I heard. But
Oh, I love Marvel too. It totally works. It's fine.
I was a Marvel guy almost exclusively. I would dip into DC, and eventually it became more even-handed. But I
Hmm.
was a major, the Spider-Man and the Avengers and Marvel, in all of its permutations.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was a Guardians of the Galaxy fan before anybody was.
Oh yeah, yeah. Jim Valentino, very nice guy.
Yeah, oh, really?
Yeah. Hmm.
I've met Jim Starlin. I did a theater thing with Jim Starlin many years ago. That was about as close as I came to those folks.
Jim Sterling wrote some really spot on Batman stories in the 80s. Really strong stuff.
I did not know that. It,
Yeah.
it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, great writer. Dreadstar, also amazing stuff.
Yeah. See, you're a serious comic book guy. You're the real deal. I didn't dabble. I was pretty thick into it. I sold a huge collection of comic books when I came out here and ran out of money, but I wasn't. I don't think my fandom has never been utterly immersive. It's
Yeah.
always been sort of this is cool and I'll get a lot of it without
Yeah.
necessarily diving in. I didn't go out and cosplay people or I didn't do that kind of stuff. So now some of that middle, there's that middle range of fan. There's the rabid fan. There's the I don't like anything, and then there's me in the middle going I like everything, but I don't want to work as hard as a cosplayer works. That's too. I don't want to. I don't can't sew.
Yeah. What amazes me is I have like friend groups of people that make my fandom look really like not rabid at all. Like I can
Uh-huh.
say this book, issue 133, and they're like, "Oh, that guy was on the cover and they were doing this." And I'm how do you
So you don't
that
get to go. Yeah, so it's like you don't know all the lyrics to the song, but you know what
exactly.
the song is.
Yeah, yeah. So it's funny how that works. It's funny with the levels of fandom and
But where
uh
is your first fandom instinct? What do you go to?
definitely the DC universe, definitely
Any
that was the
particular DC?
Batman in particular. First character I was introduced to. Yeah,
Mhm.
the movie came out with Michael Keaton right around the time I started reading the comics, and so it was
Uh-huh.
like the fandom was across all the brands and all the things.
Cool. Oh, you
Yeah.
picked a goodie. You
Yeah.
definitely picked a goodie.
What about you? What is your go-to character title fandom?
I mean, I think back when it's hard for me to remember, but I think it was because I'm ancient, but I think it was Spider-Man because
Yeah.
what the whole reason Marvel was successful is because Spider-Man was a human being with foibles who did stupid things and had to make up for it somehow. And you sort of, so I felt one with him, which was cool. And the X-Men were the group version of the same thing. So I think
Yeah.
those are my two biggies.
Great choices, fantastic choices, and I'm just gonna pause and note the irony of saying fantastic, fantastic. What's it like to be part of fandom then, to be on sort of the receiving end?
You know, I I'm constantly surprised by it. I never thought that anybody would be a fan of something I did. I avoided conventions for many years because I thought, who would want to see me? Who would want to talk to me? And then you go to a convention, and then some kid comes up to you who's not necessarily the most a little socially adept human being, and blurts out how some anime that I did that I barely remember doing changed his life. And,
Hmm.
and suddenly you go, this has impact, and I'm doing something important.
Yeah.
And back in the day, Marlon Brando would poo-poo actors and all that stuff. And I've always thought that that's not true. What we do is important, like music is important. Try to get through a day without music. You
Hmm.
can't. It's not possible to get through a day where music doesn't have some impact on your life. And I think, and you as a book guy, I'm sure you're the same way about books.
Hmm.
And I think acting is the same way. What we do helps people to laugh or to learn or to have catharsis or to just get through a crappy day, and that's important to me.
Uh, that human thread, that human connection from music to film to books and everything and anything in between, it's vital.
Oh, absolutely. And I hate it when society forgets that.
Hmm.
Forget what it is that they forget that connecting thread that gives us communication and humanity and uh, care for each other because it does.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, as a storyteller,
Mhm.
moving from animation to video game to live action, are there differences in your approach as you consider those
I
forms?
There are some technical differences, but I like to look for the similarities
Hmm.
because I think the trap people fall into is they say, "Oh, this is voiceover. This is very different from being on stage or on camera. So what am I going to do?" And it confuses people when it's
Hmm.
still all basic, lowest common denominator human emotions.
Yeah.
Uh, it's who am I talking to? What's my relationship with them? What do I want from them? How do what they do to me make me feel? It's all that stuff. That goes across all of those genres. In a way, it goes to commercials. In a way, I mean, if you're narrating a documentary, you're still narrating it to some person, and you have to narrate it with a certain fascination because you want that person that you like. Otherwise, you wouldn't be sharing this cool story with them. You want them to go, "Wow, that's cool." So even a
Yeah.
narration has that thread to it. So I like to look for the similarities. What makes it the same?
Yeah, I think that dawned on me with voice acting when I saw some like behind the scenes photos of Mark Hamill on Batman the Animated Series. And
Uh-huh.
he was full on, like embodying the Joker, doing the face, doing the
Oh
voice, all
yeah.
the things. So it's
Oh
not
yeah.
as
Well,
though you
all the best
disconnect.
voice people use their whole bodies. Your whole body is your friend.
Hmm.
You're constantly using it. If you don't, then it all gets sort of focused and squeezed down into this, and it doesn't come out with any oomph. You know,
Yeah.
People that do it because they want. Well, I should sound. I want to sound like this. It's usually not a good idea. As I tell people, voice acting is two words, and the first one is not voice.
As you've gone through different characters, different worlds, are there particular sort of themes that show up at conventions, people that are particularly impacted by certain characters?
I think, I mean, it's people are very often attracted to the ones that break their hearts,
Mm-hmm.
and it's funny because actors always say, "Oh, I love playing the villain. The villain is the best." And yes, I love villains. Villains are cool, but to get a guy that's so nice, that's so good to somebody, that does something so heartrending that you just go, "Oh, that I like being that guy."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Then I like being the villain after that. Or maybe that guy turns into a villain. But either way, to be able to have that, I like that. I mean, I've been lucky to have some really, really good roles that embodied that kind of thing, which is cool. I've been lucky that way.
Yeah. Yeah. You have quite a number of credits.
Thank you. I've been
Yes.
lucky. People have been nice to me.
Yeah. Any particular kind of like primer or starter that you would point people to?
Well, oh gosh, that's hard. First, everyone just go to the IMDb page and pick because
Right.
there's plenty of stuff to pick up.
There will be something that connects with you. There's bound to be.
Yeah. There's a thing I did called an anime that's on Netflix called Violet Evergarden,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
I did, and you'll appreciate this. I did. It was a character named Oscar Webster. I believe it was in episode 7. And Violet Evergarden is this little girl who was got injured in the war and runs around sort of helping other people with their problems. And in my case, I'm a writer who has writer's block, and I can't finish my book because my daughter died. And I'm heartbroken and I'm drinking and I'm not in a good place. And she comes and inspires me to write and to finish the book and to go on with life and to live again. And that was one of those things where I'd forgotten I'd done it until
Yeah.
somebody pointed out to me at a convention. I went and watched it and I went, and I'm weeping like a baby going, I did that.
Yeah.
And I think it's a really good place to start. I mean, I haven't done all the big things, but being the current voice of Jiminy Cricket, what an honor! It's just such an honor to do that, and an honor to be a part of that in any way. I mean, to be able to sing "When You Wish Upon a Star" for Disney on Ice,
Yeah.
which was the second gig I ever did, and I haven't sung in 15 years. Uh, so, gee, can I do this? And luckily I could, and somehow, I guess muscle memory came back, and I've done that a couple of times. But I mean, that to me is you don't. And once again, I never expected to go into voiceover. So I
Hmm.
certainly, when I got into voiceover, I certainly didn't expect to be one of the iconic characters in all of voice.
Yeah.
That's to be the current guy who honors the footsteps of Cliff Edwards and Eddie and the people that did him before me. I'm in awe of it. As you can hear it in my voice, even when I talk about it, it's like, oh, I'm doing that.
Hmm.
You know?
Hmm.
But I like that. I like sort of always being in this state of disbelief that I get to do what I do. Uh, I think it's a good thing. And people could also go look at I mean, I did a lot of TV. I did a lot of little parts on television shows. Uh,
Hmm.
Seinfeld, NYPD Blue, Will and Grace, and I miss on camera. It's been
Bones.
yeah,
Hmm.
uh, lots of those places, lots of those things. Bones, and I loved every one of those gigs just because you're on a studio lot, or in most cases, and you're around history. As a book guy, I'm sure you appreciate that. Being
Hmm.
around
Hmm.
history, I'm in awe of all that. So yeah, go anybody who wants to know, go to my IMDb page, Joe Ochman, Ochman, and just scroll down and find something that interests you. There'll probably be something.
Yeah. Oh. And I love the example you point out of anime because I know people probably have like a set of notions about what that might or might not be based on one example or two examples they might have seen. But to have such a story with such pathos and
Anime's
such,
all over the place. Another
yeah,
favorite character was in Naruto. It was a big anime, huge anime. It's been going on for years, and they have these offshoot sections of it. And I did this offshoot segment called Naruto Shippuden: The Power Arc. It's episodes 285 to 290, I believe, and it's I play this guy who was a schlubby guy who lived in his village, and the village gets attacked and he saves a bunch of kids, and then he gets reunited with the love of his life who he couldn't help when she got injured years ago, and he was guilty, but he gets his strength back. He helps Naruto, the hero, to get his strength back, and he ends up saving the village, but he's just this guy,
yeah,
you know. And
yeah.
once again, the little people can have an impact without even knowing that they're having it. I think that is a recurring theme for me. Little people having a bigger impact than they think they can have.
Love it, love it.
I just thought
And
of that now.
I
Hmm,
like it. I like it.
that's
Yeah.
cool.
Those motifs, those things that stand out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to ask that is maybe a partial answer to the next question, which is starting with that book, that printed page, what in a script inspires you?
Oh, wow. That could be different for every script. Sometimes
Nice.
it's just the writing itself. Sometimes you
Mhm.
want to do something just because it's so beautifully done. I mean, hello Shakespeare. Sometimes it's something that sparks you in a character. I remember I was asked to do this play where I had this tiny part playing the boyfriend of the lead girl. Didn't have much to do. His big thing was he wore bowling shoes and he hung around and was just very nice. He didn't have much to do, but it was so beautifully written in terms of relationship and in terms of what his impact was, even in
Mhm.
the small time we had on stage, that I said I have to do that. I didn't care how small it was. You know,
Yeah.
sometimes it's something you're a fanboy of. I did one line on Buffy the Vampire Slayer because dang, I wanted to be on Buffy the Vampire Slayer because
Nice.
I was fanboying. Uh, you know, which is kind of cool. Life is
Any,
Life is Strange is another one of those. The video game Life is Strange, where I play the father of Chloe, the best friend of the lead girl in that video game, and that's another heartwarming, tragic, beautiful role that I've gotten to play.
yeah, yeah. Any particular kind of part that you would like to take on that you've not experienced yet?
I've always wanted to be pseudoless, and funny thing happened on the way to the forum.
Yeah.
I want to do that. That's
Nice.
what I've always wanted to do. And other than that, I would like to do something where I get to sustain the arc of a character like we've been talking about over a long period of time to see what happens to him. You know, most of the
Hmm.
stuff I've done series, but the type of supporting characters didn't necessarily have as big an arc as that. That guy that I was talking about in Naruto, he did. And
Hmm.
that was immensely satisfying. And I remember the director and I crying like babies at the very end of it, the two of us. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, since I've blundered in almost everything I've done, and stuff has been handed to me in the weirdest ways, I just kind of like that.
Yeah,
It's fun to let stuff happen to you sometimes.
yeah. I love that you get so invested in a character that you wind up crying over this person that you've had the chance to
Oh
bring to
yeah,
life. Yeah.
yeah. It was beautiful. It was something. It was something. I had tears in my eyes when I sang "When You Wish Upon a Star." The
Oh,
first,
yeah.
I was tearing. I was tearing up. I was literally sitting there going, "I get to do this," and that's kind of a cool way to go through life. I get to do this.
Hmm.
I think that's a good way to do it all.
A nice surprise every day.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
theory of the pleasant surprise.
There is a play title right there, or a memoir title, or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah. Um, well, you mentioned voicing in video games, and I've played video games, and of course I've made many attempts to get through certain cutscenes. Are there particular parts of video game acting that are kind of interesting, kind of a behind the scenes look?
Sometimes, well, I did Red Dead Redemption, the first one.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I don't know how if you're I don't know what games you're familiar with, but
I am familiar with that. I was a middle school teacher when the first of those came out, and so it was
did
big
you
news.
did you play it?
Just a little bit to be familiar.
You probably did not get to me. I was Professor McDougal. I was a Yale professor.
Ah, nice,
I was a
nice.
bit of a heroin addict who was
Uh-huh.
out there researching the local tribes in a very, let's just say, racist manner.
Right, right. Hmm.
But he was this goofy, weird, frenetic guy, and it was motion capture. So that I had the spandex outfit with the ping pong balls all over it, and I was doing every movement you saw in the game,
Wow.
and it was glorious to do. That was like doing theater with ping pong balls, and he was just wild. I got to do arias, which is kind of cool. He just had these arias that he'd go off on. And in video games, very often you have arias, just big, long, because they have so much time in the game to fill that sometimes they'll fill it with an awful lot of dialogue.
Hmm.
Yeah, so that guy was great. And then it goes down to Life is Strange again, that nice simple one that's got nothing, just simple. He didn't say much. He was a man of few words. It's video game acting is more like film acting nowadays than it used to be when it started. So it's just like doing a really long film, which is good.
Yeah, yeah. It really is cinematic, interactive cinema.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. What games did you play? That's what I want to know.
I played Assassin's Creed and Call of Duty, and
I
let's
did
see
one
what.
of the Call of Duties. I did a bunch of Eastern European voices in Call of Duty. Was which one? Modern Warfare, maybe the one with Kevin Spacey in it.
That was the one I played.
I was in that one too.
Oh, very nice, very
When you
nice.
came across people talking like this, you came across me.
And I came across lots of people talking. Absolutely. Yeah. Lego was another one. The Lego franchise. I
Uh-huh.
dabbled in that. And I've been meaning to get back to gaming. It's just you're talking about something being immersive. When I started my doc program, I stopped gaming because I wanted time to, write and do the things. So one
Yeah,
of these days.
I'm not a gamer myself because I know if I ever got started, I'd never leave, and I'd just be sitting there. Yeah,
Yeah.
you got things to do, dude. You have no time for
Right.
that.
Right.
You're
Dinner's
teaching,
cooking.
you're educating young minds. You have no time for this.
But it was cool, and being a teacher gives you kind of that insight because, as you were talking about with anime, the stories are so expansive. Just this week,
Yeah,
students that I did not know were into anime at all came back from spring break and said, "Hey, I saw this movie. Have you heard about this?" No, and so they're telling me, and video games have been a great connection that way too, to be like, "Hey, I'm stuck in this part of this ship. How did you get out of that?" Those kind of
that's cool.
connections. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
see the kind of teacher you are. That's good.
We try, we
That's
try.
good.
The kind of teacher I would have wanted is what we aim for.
That is a very, very good idea. That's a very good approach, I think.
Well, thank you.
I direct theater, and that's always been my attitude when I direct theater. I want to direct theater in the way directors I've had have not.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
When you've been
that's,
on that side of it.
yep, yep. Step for a few minutes in other people's shoes, my friends.
That's right. Now, please do tell us about the directing. What is that like? Because I asked about changing from, one particular form to the other and what the similarities are there. Uh, any similarities that you want to point out with directing and
Oh
acting?
gosh, yes. Everything feeds each other. I
Hmm.
would not be a decent director if I hadn't been an actor for so long first. And because I know it helps me to know how to talk to an actor. Uh,
Hmm.
and it helps me. And I think that thing about that I was talking about earlier about being a kid and watching too much TV and reading too many comic books. I think that also gave me a really strong visual sense. So I can see how things line up, how things fit together, what things look pretty and what things don't look pretty. And then because I'm an actor, I know how to deal with the people in there to make sure that what they're doing is not just making pretty pictures, but they're really talking to each other and really doing something to give people that catharsis or that laugh or that learning thing that I talked about earlier. It's all connected. Everything's connected. Our bodies are connected to everything we do. I coach people now, and one of the things I try to teach them is to find out where in their bodies they feel emotion. Say I love you, then tense up your chest and say I love you and feel the difference. Just because that's probably that place where you're crushing on somebody, it's like here, and to know where we feel emotion in our bodies is to be able to almost effortlessly convey that emotion
Yeah.
because our bodies hold on to it instead of trying hard to convey an emotion intellectually, which is hard to do.
Hmm. Yeah. What you were saying there about talking to the person on the screen and giving that catharsis, I'd never thought about that as far as like not just being the tableau, but actually being part of it and kind of investing that energy.
Yeah, exactly. And all my directing was stage. Everything was on stage, which was starting with, well, no, actually, I started in college, but then I directed. We were going to talk about this. We talked about this beforehand. That I directed kids shows in a middle school for
Hmm.
6 years, the fifth, sixth grade show, and then the seventh and eighth grade show. And
Yes.
and I was brought in because the people before me, and this is in Westport, Connecticut. This is a school system in Westport, Connecticut, a very haughty school system that was with a high school that was very competitive about their theater. And they brought me in because the people before them would all do a musical. And, three people or four people or five people would have the leads, and everybody else would be sort of standing around. And what I was supposed to do was come up with plays or that would allow every kid to get a moment.
Mm-hmm.
So it was quite the challenge sometimes. Uh, we ended up there was a one writer, there's a playwright named Cynthia Mercati who would write plays that was obviously that were actually funny. They didn't talk down to kids, they were fun, and they understood you got a play that's got 22 people in it, and 11 of them are in of those 22 people, 16 of them are girls and the rest are guys, because there's more girls that'll do theater than the guys, and you give them all something funny to do, and it works out. And we also, I created an evening of one acts, including a Noel Coward one act, and a couple of other things. I did that kind of stuff with them. We created our own musical once, where I cast a bunch of people,
Nice.
and I said, "I want to hear about your lives." We did interviews on tape, and we took those lives that we interviewed them, and then we fashioned a musical out of their own experiences. We did that.
How cool.
I did Charlie and the Chocolate Factory because everyone should do Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Uh, and so, yeah, it was fun. It was fun. It was draining, but it was fun.
It does drain. It does drain.
I,
Yeah.
I would say kids are just finding rebellion, inhibition, and their sex drive all at the same time in that particular.
That needs to be like the subtitle of a book about middle school teaching, right
I think probably, yeah, I think that would probably be accurate. And of course, I'm sure you know this as a teacher that your best friend is the janitor.
True. This is
Make
true.
friends with the janitor, make friends with the principal. You got the two of them on either side. There's nothing you can't do.
That's right. That's right. They have to have your back. Absolutely.
Yeah. and I would send home a contract to the parents, and
Uh,
I would say, this is what I'm expecting of your kids, and this is what I'm expecting of you. What I'm expecting of you is to not give them a sugar snack for after school, so they get really wired up and then they plummet.
yeah,
And I would also instead of like building elaborate sets or doing stuff, the parents would help build the sets, and the sets would be very kid friendly, family friendly. It would all be created like that, so everybody was a family when we did it,
hmm
and it
hmm
was fun. I had a good time for
Love
6 years. Then I had other things to do.
it. Tapping in and then saying, okay, yeah, very wise, very wise. Nice, nice. Well, if people out there want to find you, are there convention spaces that you tend to occupy?
I'm usually in the process of applying to be there now at San Diego Comic Con. I'm
Hmm
usually there. Other conventions, I COVID kind of put me out of the convention biz for a while, and I'm sort of sneaking slowly back in. But I don't have any particular ones lined up yet. I'm working on it. I may be at a Transformers convention in June because I did Transformers at one point. Speaking of
Nice.
anime, there's an anime Transformers years ago. And other than that, like I said, the best thing to do is go on IMDb, look me up, see the stuff I've done. The new stuff comes out. You can't announce certain new things because we live in a time of NDAs. But
hmm
Eventually they show up on IMDb or
Yeah,
on my Instagram page at Joe Ochman, or there's some announcement of stuff. But other than that, I'm trying to think if there's anything current. I got something coming up, but I don't know if I can announce it yet. Kind of a big
very
one,
exciting.
but
Very
it's
exciting.
it's it's still in secret land. So they put
Welcome
us
to
in
the world of
secret. I wish they
universe.
didn't put us in secret land. I don't get it.
Yeah.
Who
Builds
cares?
the excitement.
I guess that's no fun.
Yeah.
Although knowing actors, what we'll do is we'll bludgeon the publicity about it to death. So maybe it is better.
There it is. There it is. Well, you anticipated my question, which was going to be social media spaces and things like that. And I
I'm on
know,
Instagram and X at Joe Ochman on both of them. Just Joe Ochman will get you to my Facebook page, and just I don't spend a huge amount of time on any of them except maybe Instagram. But and I don't know why that is because I resisted going there because I always go, why? Once again, why would people want to watch videos of me or photos of me? Why? And I haven't drifted to TikTok yet. I've avoided TikTok. That's the videos one. This Instagram is the photographs one. So
mhm, mhm.
at least it was. But yeah, so I'm in all those places.
Lovely, lovely. And I know there are stones on the IMDb page that have been unturned, but you have a storied story career, so lots for people to check out.
I appreciate that. Yeah, there is a lot of stuff there, and what I kind of take pride in is that at some point, if you look at my IMDb page, you will be surprised by something,
Yeah, yeah.
which is kind of cool. What were you surprised by, Jason?
It didn't take that long. I was scrolling down and I saw, oh, you were in the Joaquin Phoenix Joker as
Voice in the very beginning of and actually, I also did voices in Joker too, but in the beginning of it, there's when he's just sitting at the mirror putting makeup on, and there's all this talk about the garbage strike and all this stuff that's going on. I'm one of the voices on that original, uh, basically one of the first voices you hear in the movie.
not bad. Not
Sometimes
bad.
I get to be the first voice you hear. Star Trek Vision, Star Trek, Star Wars Vision. Was the very first episode of Star Wars Vision. Was the very first person you hear is me, and that was a fun one.
Yeah, you
That
get
was a
to
fun.
initiate the series.
Yes, and that you sort of give yourself an added amount of importance you don't really have when you start. I'm important. I started this,
That's right. That's right.
It was
Absolutely.
me. This could not go on without me.
George Lucas, that guy, you
Know
know.
him.
Now, have we missed anything that you want to make sure to include?
I have no idea. It's been a delightful conversation. Have we missed
Likewise.
anything? Have we missed anything that you think we should talk about?
I don't think so. I think we've hit some of the highlights. I did mention, earlier I mentioned something you said would be a great title for a memoir. Do you have any aspirations, inclinations to set your life to the page in that way?
I think that's one of those things. I mean, I write screenplays and TV pilots. I do that. I've written some stuff. I think that may go into the latest realm of, oh, who'd want to read that? I think I'm in that realm on that particular thing.
Uh,
Uh,
Favorite experience writing a pilot
a good question.
or a
Favorites.
surprising experience?
Well, I wrote a movie that was set on Block Island, which is a little island off the coast of Rhode Island that I used to travel to when I was a kid. I used to go summer vacations there every year for 22 years. And when I started writing that one, I started doing some research of the history around it, and because there's a Nazi subs involved, and there's a Nazi sub off the coast of Block Island. There's
Wow.
actually the wreck of a Nazi sub, and I went into the history of that kind of stuff. So all the fun history stuff, and then reliving my time on the island and picking the places to do scenes. There are places that I knew intimately from my childhood. That was fun. That was a hoot, you know,
Yeah.
and then finding way, and then of course finding ways to have massive chaos happen there was even more fun.
Hmm. Hmm.
And there was massive chaos.
Yeah. I love that you've gone from you do the performance, you do directing, you do writing. Is there a part of the process that you haven't tapped into that you'd like to?
I haven't. Well, I've
Mhm.
never directed anything on camera. I mean, I've coached actors on camera. I've done a lot of coaching. I've been very lucky to have some amazing coaching clients, which is kind of cool, including one reasonably well-known one in
Mhm.
the Marvel universe. Uh,
Yes, I believe, can I say?
Go ahead.
Is it Drax, Dave
It could
Batista?
be. Yes, it is. I was very lucky to coach Dave, who was a wonderful guy and a
Can you
wonderful.
help me get muscles like that? Is that the kind of coaching that would?
As you can see by my beautiful physique, no, but he can. Hit
Yeah, yeah, I should hit him up. I should
him
absolutely
up.
do that.
He's a wonderful guy. He's very very shy, wonderful guy.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool. I've that was another sort of strange thing I blundered into. I, like I said, when things seek me out. Stuff arrives in my lap that I don't know why or how. But that's one of my favorites and one of the most rewarding things on earth. I cried when he got tracks.
Uh, and I was going to call back to Guardians of the Galaxy because we talked about that earlier in our chat.
Yeah,
So you
yeah,
got to be part of that universe in that way as well.
just kind of cool. I'm sort of indirectly part of a lot of universes,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
this is kind of fun, and
That's still part.
directly part of a couple.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I remember when he got picked to be one of the bad guys in Spectre, and I thought, what a perfect casting choice to
Oh
bring
yeah,
him in. Yeah.
oh yeah. It was a really smart, and he did a great job.
Hmm. Hmm.
What I said is he's one of the most soulful actors I've ever worked with, and you can see it in his eyes. There's always something there. There's
Yeah.
always experience. There's always pain. There's always a wonder in him, and it's really nice. And he's doing such good stuff, and I'm so thrilled for him.
Yeah. Another layer of the reward of the process. You get to be
Yeah.
teacher
Oh
in
yeah.
that way.
Oh yeah. When that happens, oh my gosh. You know, maybe I need to be more selfish. You just I'd like to think. I'm so glad that you guys are feeling good. Wait a minute, where's mine?
Now, do you sign contracts when you're working with people that stipulate no sugary snacks for like late in the day when you're working with actors in that way?
Sometimes I should. I can think of one client yeah, there's a guy that should avoid sugary. Yeah,
Yeah, this person might know who they
they might.
are.
But yeah, no, it's funny. It is a rewarding thing. It's not something I ever sought out, but it's so rewarding when it happens. You know, because it is nice. Once again, it's nice to help people.
Yeah,
Helping people has its place. You know,
it does. It does. Yeah.
kind of good.
This is, as far as we know, the one life we get. Why not spend some time supporting, right?
Yeah, let's other people living this life with us. Let's help them out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that idea. I love that I introduced you as a player of the screen, and you've played in so many different parts, on screen, off screen, behind the screen, writing what's on the screen, directing what's on, in this case, the stage, and helping to bring other actors onto the stage as well. Such a wonderful talk, and I love the way that you've contributed to so many universes.
Well, thank you. And I love the way you brought it out of me very nicely. What a lovely place to be today.
Well, thank you so much. We try. We aim to please. Absolutely.